Rock 108. Hey, it's Ned hanging out here in the studio today. It's a beautiful day outside. I've got the air conditioning on. I mean, Iowa, for some reason, is going through like another summer. I don't know what's going on. It's weird. But what's really cool about Coffee and Quarantine is that we get to hang out with bands while they're stuck inside. They're not able to do all the touring that they should be doing right now. But there is a band that when I came here at Rock 108 about 5 years ago, we were playing a band named Raw. And I'm just like, I've heard of that band plenty of times. And Raw has had an amazing relationship with Rock 108. And I discovered it so much over the years. And now I'm actually hanging with Raw's very own Sahaj. How's it going, man?
How are you, my friend? Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Your house, by the way, looks amazing back there. You have like a nice kitchen going on. Looks all all nice.
Well, we recently moved from Los Angeles. So we lived in Los Angeles for 10 years, and now we live in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So you can imagine your dollar goes a little bit further in Fort Wayne, Indiana than it does in Los Angeles. So
oh, dude, I know about
we get to get a decent house.
Yes. I mean, I just recently bought my first house back in July. And I moved from Michigan. I was in Grand Rapids. So you're right in that nice little area in the Midwest there. And I mean, and you coming straight from Los Angeles, I mean, in LA, you had like $150,000. You could probably buy like a room.
Oh yeah. The house that I was renting, and I was renting it for $5,000 a month, was 1,800 square feet.
No.
The studio was a converted garage, so it was another 300, so 2,200 square feet total.
Mm-hmm.
And it was built in the 50s, and the floors were like this, and the walls were all sort of like it was a really nice house. I'm going to say this, but it was still cracking and falling apart. And they only wanted $950,000 for it.
Only,
yeah. So it was a bargain at $950.
That's so nuts, man. And I mean, I don't know what wages are like in LA, or especially being in a band and whatnot. I mean, that's expensive, dude. And no wonder why more people want to come out to the Midwest.
Yeah, I mean, my house here is sort of our dream house, and my mortgage payment is so much lower than my rent was that, I will not disclose the actual amount.
That's fine. Leave it at that. Well, I'm glad you got yourself a nice, and welcome to the Midwest. Have you fallen under the whole Midwest nice thing yet, where everyone's just kind of a nice person?
Well, the reason we moved here is because my wife is from Fort Wayne, Indiana. So we've been coming here. I've been coming here almost religiously. Even before I met her in 2005, I ended up playing at the club here a million times with the band.
Yeah.
And then because of her, I was here all the time. So I have a weird sort of magnetic vortex that always brings me back to this town. Mm. But I love it here. I mean, the winters are brutal. The summers are actually sort of brutal.
Yeah.
But everyone's cool, and it's a really 280,000 people versus 22 million in LA. So
right.
Slightly more breathing room,
Yeah, just a little bit more,
just a bit.
Just a bit more. I've been a Midwester my whole life, man. I mean, moving from Michigan to Iowa. And when you say the brutal winters, they definitely can be. If whenever you get to make your way back to Iowa and maybe like on a tour or something like that, like it gets to like negative 32 degrees out here, wind chill. And it's just like, why did I move to a place where the air can kill me? Like, what happened here?
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. There have been times it's been minus 12, minus 15 here. And, I'm a city boy, so that's offensive.
You're right. Like, weird. So, all right, Saj, we could talk about weather in the Midwest all day, and we probably will come back to that at some point. But you've got a lot of stuff happening with Raw right now. I mean, I think if I remember right, the last newer stuff that you kind of released was back in 2013, correct?
Correct. So Critical Mass was our last full-length record. We put that out in 2013. We put it out ourselves.
Yeah.
And with very minimal promotion, and we didn't really tour on it, and it was just sort of like a labor of love for our core fans. And I was so busy as a producer and writer for other bands at that point that it was definitely something that it was fairly rushed. Mm-hmm. It was one of those things where we just wanted to get something out. I mean, I'm very happy with the record, but it was with the understanding that we really weren't going to promote it too crazy.
Yeah.
And then all this stuff has happened, and I've been writing with Starset, writing with Sean from Seven Us. I've been writing with Nothing More. I've been writing with, I did the last bunch of Motley Crue songs. So there's a bunch of stuff that I've been doing that's all made me very sort of like, now I want to do stuff for me a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I worked with an artist named Maytal Cohen, who's like a YouTube drummer chick who has like millions of subscribers, and she's super famous on the internet. And I sang some stuff for her. I sang a record for her, and it gave me the itch to sing again. So I started formulating a concept to make a record, and then it all sort of spiraled out of control because as soon as I started reaching out to see if anybody cared, we immediately got booked on Shiprock, got a manager, found a record company, did everything just sort of fell into place immediately. So to my joy, it's been good, but to my regret, now I'm back, doing all the things guys in bands do. So I'm sort of like, oh no, I have to focus on this again, but it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, just right back into it. I mean, and you said you were helping bands write stuff. You said like Motley Crue, nothing more. I mean, what was kind of that experience? I mean, and if I've learned anything about anything that's in the music industry, you're a jack of all trades. You start developing stuff for other people. I mean, Motley Crue, you just said. I'm kind of curious. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Sure. So did you see The Dirt, the movie on Netflix?
Yes.
So there are 3 new songs and a cover that they put on the soundtrack for that. One of them being the song called The Dirt, which has MGK on it. Well, I co-wrote that with John 5 and Nikki Sixx.
Oh, that's
so
cool, man.
We did those a couple of years ago, and in the process of doing that song, it was only supposed to be one song. But in the process, we demoed 2 or 3 other ones, and then those turned out good enough that they're like, we're going to put those out too. So we ended up doing 3 songs and then doing the cover. And I'm actually singing on all those songs. I'm doing all of Vince Neil's backup vocals. So
gosh, why did I not know this? Why have I not done my research, Sahaj?
Oh, it's okay. Trust me. This is not, at this point, I'm working with so many cool people that, I'm almost embarrassed sometimes to say it out loud because it's like name droppy and sort of cheeseball-y. But I'm at the moment, Starset, the band Starset?
Oh, of course.
So Starset's sort of like one of my main bands that I'm super proud of. I have like 6 or 7 songs with them. I did Manifest, which was their first single before Trials.
Yeah.
And also Lejean Witherspoon from Seven Dust, who's been talking about doing a solo record for the last 10, 15 years. Well, we're doing it, and it's awesome, and I'm super stoked on it. So we're in the process of that, and it's all going really good.
Man, you got like all sorts of forks in the fire, man. I mean, you got lots of stuff going on. So I kind of have this question then in that case of like, okay, so a little bit ago you mentioned about how like, oh, now you're back in the raw world and the record label and all that stuff. I mean, is there a vast difference? Do you enjoy one more than the other, like being the band guy or being more the producer guy, the writer guy? I mean, where does that kind of fall in between?
Well, you can imagine that when you're writing for other people, their concerns become sort of the priority. So when you're writing for someone else, your goal is to satisfy their aesthetic and satisfy what it is that they're looking for, which after, when you work with 20 or 30 bands over a couple of years, it becomes a little, your mind sort of becomes a little foggy because you never really ever do anything for yourself. So when I did the Maytal record and I wrote all those songs with her, I sort of had no rules because I was singing it. So it just gave me that feeling of, ooh, I like the idea of making a record without having to sort of satisfy a whole bunch of other people. But when you say that, you're still trying to satisfy the audience. So there is still that pressure. You still want people to be excited. But it's liberating to do something where you don't have your preconceived notions aren't a limitation as much as it is when you're working with someone else, because you're constantly trying to read their body language and see if they even like what you're saying.
Right. It's a weird kind of, I don't know what you would call it, like a therapy in a way. I don't know if that's the word I want to say for it, but just
that's a good thing to say. I mean, I consider it therapeutic. It's very satisfying for me to listen to the newer songs with me singing on them and feel like, oh, that's exactly the way I wanted it to sound. You know what I mean? And not sort of like, oh, it's been dumbed down or diluted into something else. So that there's satisfaction in that.
Okay, I got you, man. Sweet. So now you're back in the band world. I mean, now you're doing the Raw thing, and you've got a brand new single out there called Intercorrupted, which we played on 420, and all the Raw fans came right back in. I'm just like, oh, there you are. What's up? Everyone's really stoked about it. But you're also working with a guy that I'm pretty familiar with, formerly of Mushroom Head, Waylon Revis. Cool guy.
Yeah.
And how did that kind of get started?
So Waylon was brought to me I want to say 3 years ago,
Hmm.
maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I'm going to say 3 years ago. And basically, it was just the same old thing where I get a call from somebody and they're like, hey, it's this guy, he used to be in Mushroom Head. He's got his own band and he's looking for somebody to help him sort of put his songs together and stuff. And I was just like, cool. And we played Mushroom Head a couple of times in Ross. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I know the band. I didn't remember him personally,
Mhm.
but he came over and he was just he's from Mississippi, so you get the real heavy accent, and
You
it's real
do.
nice. So we're so polite, we're having such a good time. So we did these two songs. One song was called Angel on the Outside, the other one was called I Wish.
Mhm.
So the Angel on the Outside one was like this one that was sort of like emotional and sort of heavy, and it ended up on a big playlist, and it was able to get a couple million streams and
Yeah.
like did really well. So we're like, oh cool. We did the other song I Wish, and I always loved this story because it's hilarious. But he came in to do the bridge, right? So I
Mhm.
don't get to do a lot of metal stuff, like really like brutal metal stuff.
Sure.
So he did the bridge in this song, was really brutal.
Yeah.
And he would come in, he has this voice, and he's doing it. And then in between takes, he'd be like, I'm not sure, man. I don't know if I like that one. And as he was like, well, maybe not that one. That one's not that good. So
Yeah.
it was just the best experience, but the song came out really good. We got along, and we knocked out 2 songs in like 2 days.
Mm.
And it did well for him. And it just started a relationship where he started coming back and doing more songs. We got more success on the songs.
Yeah.
He ended up signing to a label called Wake Up Music, which was owned by Pepper Gomez, a woman in Florida.
Yeah.
And he ended up signing to them and then ultimately working for the label. And then his first signing at the label was Raw. So that's how it all came together.
Damn, man. So it all came together. This Mississippi boy, and he's sitting there singing songs, and all of a sudden screaming, and now you're on labels together and having fun.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's weird how like in just radio and music and just the industry in general, it's like a world this big. It's like this
Well,
guy knows that
that's
guy that
when
knows
I
that
first moved to Los Angeles.
guy. Mhm.
My terror, of course, was like, okay, I'm just the raw guy, so I'm coming to LA. I'm just going to be one of 1,000 dudes
Yeah.
making records in Los Angeles. Like, how am I even going to make a living doing this?
Right.
And very quickly, I would say within 6 months, I realized it was the same 20 guys making all the records.
Yeah. Right.
So you really only had to become one of those 20 guys in order to be relevant. And
Yep.
so I just stuck with it for a couple of years really hard and worked with a few cool people and ended up getting my foot in the door. And then after that, it was just sort of like on autopilot, because once you get a couple things going on, people just kind of find you. And one of those early people was in 2010. There was a band called Downplay, and the guy who came in was this random dude named Dustin. And I
Mhm.
met him and we started working together. And ultimately that's Dustin from Starset, who
Yeah.
ended up starting his band. So I was there at the very beginning of that.
Damn, and actually, I talked with Dustin about a month or two ago, kind of towards the middle of the pandemic, I can call it, and I found out he's not only just the band guy and obviously rolling in Starset and whatnot, but he's also a restaurateur. He owns a restaurant in Columbus, Ohio.
He comes here quite a bit because in Fort Wayne, he's only 2.5 hours away. So he
Yeah.
comes here and he brings his little dog, Ernie, and we come here and we work on songs. But the entire time it's always him looking at his phone. And I'm like, what are you checking on? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know who's going to cover the 3 o'clock shift at the bar. And I'm like, Dustin, you need to get other people to do this. I don't know that you should be the bar manager today. But it's pretty cool.
He's keeping himself busy.
Yeah, for
Keeping himself
sure.
busy with owning a
Say
restaurant.
the
So,
least.
in the words of keeping yourself busy, I know you're obviously working hard with the brand new Raw stuff kind of coming around. So, what's keeping you busy while you're stuck in the pandemic kind of thing?
Man, I mean, all the bands, dude. And also I've sort of traveled a lot during the shutdowns ish.
Yeah.
Not really responsibly, but
Mhm.
we had to cut the drums for the Raw record. So I went there in August to New Orleans to my drummer's place, cut drums there. Then I flew to Arizona to make the videos for both. We made 2 videos, one for Infinite Corrupted and one for one that's coming out later.
Ooh.
And then I came back. And all of that was flying, and I'm like flying. I'm sitting in the middle seat. The planes are packed. I'm like, oh, there's no safety at all in this.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then I ended up going to Las Vegas to work with Jason Hook and Chad Gray, which
Oh.
was pretty awesome. And then I went back here, and then I drove out to Overland, Kansas, and hung out with LeJean and did some work there.
Mhm.
So when you ask about busyness, It's pretty chaotic here. I have a band right now. They're probably going to walk in the door in a minute, and I'm producing them at the moment. And in the meantime, doing interviews and getting the rest of the record done. So it's all craziness.
Yeah, there's so basically in Sahaj world, it's there's not much of a pandemic. Just
No, I mean, and also I live. I mean, I can't show you the outside of here, but I'm in a brand new addition. So there's like there aren't even houses here. So I'm literally isolated in the middle of nowhere.
No coronavirus coming to your place at all.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, please knock on wood. Everything has been kind of going crazy right now. All of a sudden, like the second spike decided to show up, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I'm like, I was hoping it was gonna end soon, but here we are, round 2, man. And we're just back at it. It's like, oh my gosh, just give me. It's getting to the point where it's starting to feel like, you know what, just come what may, just bring me the virus, let me get through the damn thing, and I'll just be done. But
this band that's here right now, they're from Florida, and every one of them had it.
Really?
They've all had it. They've all cycled through. A couple of them it was bad, and a couple of them it was barely a cold, and that's just how it runs. It's crazy.
It's a mystery, man. It's like, there's a lot of people out there that have, the pre-existing conditions, and that obviously is very effective for them, and you want to keep them as safe as possible. But for people like me, it's just like, if I get it, dude, I'm going to get it. It's going to suck, but I'll get through it.
Yeah. I've actually had pneumonia twice, so I'm sort of nervous about getting it. But But I'm also just having to strategic cough, by the way.
Okay.
I'm also trying to I'm also trying to just keep the right attitude and keep my life going, So
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we still got to get business done, man. Still got to do the job, still make it happen. I know how that feels, man. So Intercorrupted is out now. You can buy it online. So I think I remember seeing an email about it, but when's the album coming?
So we're going to do our pre-sale February 1st, and then the album itself is going to drop on March 19th.
Yeah.
So, and the reason it's pushed back actually is we talked to we're distributed by 1RPM, which is this great company. And, me being out of the game for such a long time, I got a lesson in how people release records now. And it's like, no, you got to do a single, then you got to do an internet single, then you got to do another internet single, then you got to do another single. And then maybe, if you're lucky, in 6 to 8 months, you can release an album. So they want me putting out, I'll probably put out 3 or 4 songs before the record comes out.
That's usually, it's weird how that goes now, man. I mean, the digital world is just taking it over in so many ways. I still buy CDs. I still buy vinyl. And even Rob Zombie's releasing his new album on like a cassette tape. I'm like, buy a cassette tape of Rob Zombie.
We're doing vinyl for sure.
Yeah. And it's cool to see how vinyl has come back in its own unique way. And there's so many different like special editions that people release now. And it's like, I must have it.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. That stuff is awesome. I love all, I mean, my favorite memories of all music was listening to cassettes. Like I listened to cassettes on like little Walkmans so long that like I really didn't dig CDs that much. I felt like CDs were not cool enough to be records and not small enough to be portable, Yeah.
It was all about that Sony Walkman, dude. It changed and made everything so portable at that point. And CDs, when you had like a portable CD player, it had the anti-skip, and it was never good enough. I don't care what it said. If you had a cassette, though, you could throw that thing down the stairway and it'd still be playing the same way it did.
That's right. Awesome.
Yeah, man. So I won't take up too much time. I know you got a band coming up here pretty soon, but so with the new Raw album coming out here in March, hopefully, I mean, obviously with singles, 9,000 of them, coming around, but touring plans. I mean, I know with the pandemic, it's just like up in the air, question mark. Well, do you have any ideas?
I mean, it's sort of a case by case, honestly. Like we'll see where it all falls. I mean, there are a couple of things that are floating around. There are a couple of bigger bands that we might be able to get on with that are doing some drive-in tours.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. But I'm seeing a lot of bands posting shows that are in late March, April, May of next year, and maybe they're being optimistic, maybe they're not. I have no idea. I guess it really depends on if a vaccine comes through and we'll be able to dial it in and get this thing under control.
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, I think all of us, especially musicians like yourself, just need that live music, man. I mean, we're all sort of bundled in our houses at this point. It's just like you start to realize how important like live sports are or live events. It's just like people need that mental relaxation, even if it's screaming for your favorite team or screaming for your favorite band.
Yeah, I think we're going to try and do a live concert event, like an online streaming concert event.
Oh,
so we might do that around the album release. So that's something we're floating around right now. I'd be really excited to do it. I think it can be done in a way that's cool and maybe a little conceptual and not sort of like just a bunch of guys on stage pretending it's live, you know?
Right. There's a band, you've probably heard of them, Psycho Stick. Sound familiar at all?
Sure.
Okay, yeah. They've been every week on Twitch and Facebook and all those ones. They do live shows where they just play, and it sounds great, man. It sounds
Yeah, you can
really.
dial it in. You really can dial it in. If you get a good sound system and you know what you're doing, you can make it sound really good.
Yep, absolutely, man. And then if that's the way we have to get live music for now, then hey, it's something is better than nothing. I'll take it.
Absolutely, for
Awesome.
sure. I'm with you.
Well, Sahaj, man, it was such a pleasure chatting with you, man. I mean, I know you've had a great history with Rock 108, and it's cool to be kind of rounding that back out again with new Raw. So I'm looking forward to the new album. And before we call it a day, man, because let me white balance again. It just doesn't work. I don't fucking know. I keep
right. You're very pale. Is all it is.
It's like, oh man, I gotta get some sun or something. Anyway, we post a blog up at rock108.com. So we have to take a quick picture, so like a quick 3-second still shot.
Sure.
Making like a thumbs up smile. You can be weird if you want. I'm usually the guy, but do whatever you want. So all right. So in 3, 2, 1, we will do a thing. So 1.
All right, gotcha.
3, 2, 1. Perfect. Awesome. Cool, man.
I did my Instagram duck lips for the people.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I mean, if you're not doing the duck lips, are you really even on social media at that point?
Yeah, that's what I say.
Cool. Well, Sahaj, man, it was such a pleasure chatting with you, man. And we'll hopefully see you very soon when this damn pandemic finally does its thing.
Absolutely, buddy. Thank you so much, dude. And we can't wait to get back out there. We remember the places. I still have a lot of footage from some of the places we played in Cedar Rapids. So
yeah, it was like, I think it was before my time, unfortunately, but so many people have reminded me, like 3rd Street Live.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, man, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of those places have closed down.
Yeah, I'm used to that now. I've seen it happen so many. I mean, even here in Fort Wayne, the place I met my wife isn't open. So it's just, it's a crazy thing.
There's one in Waterloo, which you might have played before, or Cedar Falls. It was called Spicoli's Reverb. Reverb.
Of course.
That's
sure.
The one, man. That one's another one that called it a day.
Well, hopefully this all gets handled and then it all sort of blows up because there's going to be so much demand for it that we'll be able to make it work,
Yeah, absolutely. Bring back more smaller venues because, the big arenas are great. We love them. We love big arena bands, but those little smaller venues, man, that's where you get that true, intimate, passionate show that you get from bands. I mean, that's
for sure.
Cool. All right. We'll go record a band. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, dude. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you later, man.
All right, bye.